This is how I change my car's oil. And these are the tools that I use to make the job quick and easy. I got these disposable nitrile gloves at Harbor Freight. They're cheap and they work great. Just be sure to get the extra large because they're a bit undersized. A rag or some paper towels are needed for cleanup. It's also good to have a large container for oil disposal. I like these 5-gallon jerry cans with a good seal for transport. You'll also need an oil filter. I got mine from ecstuning.com. It's a good source for Volkswagen parts. A ratchet wrench with 19mm socket. Sometimes you'll need an oil filter socket or oil filter wrench, usually just for loosening those stubborn filters. My 2011 GTI requires 5W40 oil that is fully synthetic and meets the required specification of VW502. Also need a pan to catch the oil. I like this type with the spout. That way I can pour it into the jerry can when I'm done. Oh yeah, and you'll need a funnel too. My GTI is surprisingly low to the ground for a stock vehicle, and I quickly discovered that my Rhino ramps were just too steep. You can see here that the front bumper hits it before it can have a chance to climb the ramp. The solution? Buy a longer ramp. I bought these 56-inch ramps from a company called Race Ramps. They're $230, but they are a top quality product. These ramps are very light and very strong. I was always nervous driving up the steeper Rhino ramps, but these are much easier to drive up. At this point, I always put the car in gear and pull the parking brake for added safety. The race ramps come in a 2-piece construction, which helps with storage, and it has the added benefit that you can remove the incline so you can crawl under from the side. Now, just release the hood latch and pop the hood. I find that one glove is all I need for the oil change. I often forget to keep my oil rag close. Nothing sucks more than running to get one when you really need it. It's a good idea to drive your car around the block before you do the oil change. That way you can get the engine temperature up and the oil will flow out more efficiently. Here I'm checking how hot the oil is so I don't burn my hand. I like to try and catch the plug so I don't have to fish it out of the oil drain pan. Aha! Ninja-like reflexes. Glad I didn't forget the oil rag. The oil filter on newer GTIs is on the top of the engine. The plastic cover just pops off. Then I can detach this hose from a few catch points so I can have easier access to the oil filter. Usually the oil filter can be loosened by hand, but this time it's being stubborn for some reason. To minimize oil drips from the filter, just keep it vertical. Tilting it to the side will cause it to leak. Ah, now I discover why the oil filter was difficult to remove. The old filter's nipple unscrewed from the filter and remained on the engine. Yeah, this has never happened before, but it came off pretty easy with some pliers. There was no damage to the oil filter connection point there. This little nipple should stay on the filter. I'm guessing this happened because the engine was quite hot from a long drive and the metal expansion caused it to get stuck. To help seal the new filter, it's always a good idea to put some oil on the rubber seal. I always use my hands to tighten a new filter in place. Now I can put the hose back into its clips and reinstall the engine cover. On my 2011 GTI, I believe that Volkswagen made a small engineering mistake to design the new oil plug with a permanent washer. Although it seems like a good idea, it actually caused my drain plug to have a small drip leak, even when tightened with a torque wrench to spec. So I cut off the permanent stainless washer and replaced it with a softer copper washer, and now no more leaks. It's a good idea to wipe the drain plug hole to make sure there's no road grit that could cause a leak. Now I can just reinstall the drain plug with its new copper washer. I've done enough oil changes now that I can trust my hands when it comes to tightness. But if you're unsure of how tight to make it, just use a torque wrench and tighten it to 22 foot-pounds. This jerry can is perfect for oil disposal because it has a rubber seal on its cap, so I don't have to worry about it spilling oil all over my car when I take it to recycling. My oil filler cap seems to be a place that catches lots of sand and grit, so I like to blow it out before I open the oil filler cap. The oil filler cap comes off with a quarter turn in a counterclockwise motion, and I can insert the funnel. You should always check with your owner's manual, but my 2011 Mk6 GTI needs 4.9 quarts of 5W40 full synthetic oil, which meets the VW502 specification. This Castrol brand is the only oil I could find in my area that meets this requirement. I leave this much in the last bottle to achieve the 4.9 quarts my engine needs. Next, I start the engine and let it run for about 20 seconds. This way it circulates the new oil, and then I shut off the engine. Finally, I check the oil dipstick and confirm that the oil level is between the high and low marks, and then I add or drain oil as needed. Please be sure and check out my other videos on my YouTube channel at Panofish. That's P-A-N-O-F-I-S-H. Panofish.